Hello everyone, Sarah Lethbridge. I've got two titles. I'm the Lean Services Manager in the Cardiff Business School, and I'm also look after executive education in the business school as well. I joined the Lean Enterprise Research Centre in 2005, and my role was really to understand how to take a methodology that's originally come from manufacturing and transfer it into the service sector. So I didn't really know anything about Lean, to be honest, when they recruited me. Hopefully they saw something in me which made them think that actually I could apply some common sense to helping businesses to improve their processes. But yeah, I started understanding what Lean was by working on healthcare projects. So looking at pharmacy supply chains in hospitals, looking at blood samples, other types of samples in hospitals, and how we could better manage the flow of these samples through that healthcare system. Then I kind of thought, healthcare is full of disease, so I'll skip along and work in office environments. So I worked with the Ministry of Justice and Home Office in their shared service centre in Newport, looking at how we can improve the processes there for them. And Christine will tell you more about it. I also learnt a lot by trying to apply Lean within our own university. And it was really interesting for me actually, because I'd got very used to being a bit of a consultancy figure, flying in and flying out of companies, and then sort of going, good luck at the end. Very different when you're a member of staff and you're trying to make these processes leaner, to your own organisation. So I learnt a lot doing that. One of the key things I learned was how important education was within the whole Lean area. So I then started working with companies like Nestle, Principality Building Society, Legal & General, to help to teach them really how to embrace Lean. And I learn something every time I start an engagement with those sort of companies. So what we're going to talk to you about today is where Lean's come from, where it's being really actively used today in the present, and where I think it's going. Now, this is just me and my opinions about where Lean will evolve until, so maybe we can have some debate about, what you think in the question and answer session. But thought I'd start with a bit of a timeline and evolution. It's really important that we understand that Lean is not a fad, it's not a product, or, well, consultancies definitely do try to sell it. It's just the best we know how to make products and services today. So you can kind of interchangeably use operations management for the term Lean. And it is an evolution, because we've discovered Lean principles in Egyptian times and how they built the pyramids, and Roman times and how, they sorted out their armies to charge into battle. It's an evolution of the best way we know how to make work work. And really this first start of organisation of this focus of improvement in work happened in gun manufacturing and then Fordism. So you're all familiar with Fordism? Anyone want to share with me what it was that Ford gave the world of production that was so amazing? Production line, yeah. So the introduction of the production line meant that suddenly we were able to produce a lot of cars. And there's that famous quote, you can have any colour you want as long as it's black. He was making a lot of cars off his production line. So they were starting to look at production, understand it in quite a detailed way, so that you could get these economies of scale. And with the introduction of, management thinkers like Taylor, they became really clever at looking at work, breaking work down into tiny tasks, and then focusing production around economies of scale. So that led to a whole mass manufacturing paradigm, which is still really successful. Loads of things that we use, iPhones, very much made in these mass manufacturing type techniques. But what was different about Toyota is, and they did totally steal from Ford, by the way, so it's wrong to think of Ford versus Toyota. Toyota went to Ford factories in America, but they just started to focus less on economies of scale and more on, well, actually, we haven't got as much money as America, and it's Japan in the 1940s, and we're a bit poor and a bit devastated. So we'll actually focus our production system on speed. We want to buy loads of bits of cars, make a car, sell a car, and that means a rapid influx of cash into our production system. So what we're seeing is the difference between mass manufacturing and lean manufacturing is economies of scale versus lead time reduction or economies of flow. And actually a lot of our advantage today comes from trying to constantly look at lead times and reduce them so that they're really, really quick. Now, Toyota, of course, didn't call their approach lean. Academics called it lean because they realised in the 70s and 80s that Japanese manufacturing was doing something different from Western car manufacturing. In fact, big car manufacturers like GM, like Ford, they commission, this is really a good thing to do actually, you guys. If you want to know something about, any kind of innovation that's happening, commission a research study for a university to go out and do some digging, and then you've got the findings of the reports which you can then use to enhance your operating system in the future. So that's what they did. It was a £1 million study of global car manufacturing, and it was done, one of the authors was Dan Jones, who started our centre in the business school. So that's why Cardiff's got such a legacy and history of lean. And in the 1990s, they published a book, The Machine That Changed the World, which really sort of set out the fact that Japan was doing something different, much better quality cars, using far fewer resources. And now, you can't be a car manufacturer, you wouldn't be competitive enough unless you've adopted all of these ideas. So we've got a whole improvement thrust, which is around lead time reduction. Toyota learnt from Deming, an American quality guru, very important in terms of their whole approach. That spawned a whole set of improvement ideas around quality and reducing the amount of variation that existed within processes that led to improvement practices such as total quality control, total quality management, and probably a lot of you are familiar with Six Sigma. So what you get within this community is you get people at the top of that community that are convinced that their improvement methodology is the answer to how to make work work, okay? So you have Six Sigma fans who think that all you need to do is Six Sigma, and at the same time you have lean fans who think that all you need to do is pursue a lean methodology. There's other methodologies out there as well. I can't go into them right now, but things like total productive maintenance, the theory of constraints. Again, you get people who are so convinced that that's the best way to look at a company and try and make work better. Agile community. There was a big debate for ages, lean versus agile. One's better than the other. One's focusing on, you can see here, agile is about flexibility, lean is about lead time reduction. But actually what we know, as we've seen lean move through all the different sectors, is all of these improvement methodologies are kind of coming together. So we're learning about lean in car manufacturing in the 90s, applying it, today still. It then moves through aerospace. Again, you can't be an aeronautic manufacturer unless you've adopted these lean ideas. You just wouldn't be able to compete in the marketplace. Through to logistics, transportation, retailing, definitely construction. ISG, who have just built our new postgraduate teaching centre, I've done a case study in them, excellent lean company, how they're managing their supply chain infrastructure using lean techniques. So as we've seen lean move through all these different sectors, we're understanding that a lot of these improvement methodologies are kind of merging and blending together. So Christine will tell you more about what's happening now, particularly within the university sector, because there's no doubt about it. universities are looking at this stuff in a big way in order to try and help them cope with all the pressures that they're under. So yeah, this is just me. I was fun with the PowerPoint slides, joining all the arrows together. We're seeing that it's no longer as clearly distinct as lean versus agile. They're definitely stealing the good parts of the methodologies and using them. Systems thinking, who's heard of systems thinking? Okay. John Seddon's the biggest sort of advocate of systems thinking of recent times. And he used to call his approach lean in service, but now he's sort of distanced himself from the lean community for a number of different reasons. And as I said, they all have fights at the top of the trees. But actually, it would be unfair for the lean community to not recognise how much his systems thinking voice has influenced the application of lean within a service sector environment. So really what I'm trying to position is, lean is become a kind of amorphous mass of different improvement methodologies that is just simply trying to answer the question, what is the best way that we know today in order to make products and deliver services? And I just thought I'd put a summary here, because this is what lean means to me. It's all about delighting our customers. Sometimes we forget that with our lean approach. You could have the leanest production line the world has ever seen, but if you're making something that no one wants to buy, you'd be in a lot of trouble. So it's a focus that's totally centred on delighting customers. Took me a bit too long to get this, but it's a methodology that's constantly looking to reduce the lead time. So that time from, please can I have something from your company, to, there you go, here you go, you can have it. And then it's about how do we apply a scientific approach to work so that the organisation learns. So a bit of a confusing little diagram there. Deming, that guy who I mentioned earlier, he brought the Shewhart cycle, the Deming cycle, plan, do, check, act, to Japan. Think about it, it's the same way you're doing a scientific experiment in school. You write down the methodology, you do the experiment, and then you report the results. Did the experiment give me the conclusion that I wanted to see? Can I prove or disprove my hypothesis? We're applying that same scientific approach to the world of work. And we're doing that at a number of different levels. So individuals are applying plan, do, check, act. Teams are applying plan, do, check, act. End-to-end processes are applying plan, do, check, act. And the organisation itself is constantly looking at itself and trying to make itself better. And critically, and this is really rare, all of those different levels are talking to each other. Often we haven't got those communication channels in our organisations, so that me experiencing a problem as an individual can kick up a problem to my team to look at. My team, if it's still an issue, kick up the problem for the end-to-end process to look at. And the whole system really keeps working together, so that you have this continuous improvement culture, which is ever elusive, but when you've got it in an organisation, wow, you're constantly looking to get better and grow. So there's so many things that are involved in lean. For me, these are the key factors that we need to think about and try and create the right environment for these things to blossom and grow within our organisations. So there's loads of organisations that we call lean companies. Amazon's definitely one of them. If you think about delighting customers, it's scary how well they know you, isn't it? Every time I go in, they tell me what albums I want to buy and they tell me what films I want to watch. And they're right. I do want to watch those films. If you think about the lead time reduction, they do everything they can to try and make it as simple as possible for you to navigate that process. One click, I just want to get what I want now. They design their whole processes to make it as easy for the customer as possible. Everything that they do is about reducing that lead time. I think they've even talked about sending you CDs and albums that you haven't even bought or requested. They're so convinced that you'll want them, and then you can send them back if you don't. That's extreme lead time reduction. You didn't even know you wanted it yet. And then, of course, you've seen all of these examples of the drones, yeah? To me, that's, again, another innovation to help reduce that lead time. I don't want to have to wait for my package. I want to order it on Amazon, and I want you to send a tiny little robot through the skies and deliver it to me at my back door now. This is the demands that we as 21st century customers are placing on organisations. Why do I have to wait 8 weeks for a sofa? It's there, I want it. Can I have it in my house now? Why does it take 6 months to buy a house? The amount of time that you're actually spending within that house negotiation, if you added it all together, it'd probably be like 3 hours. How can we turn 6 months into something that's more like 3 hours? This is what Lean's constantly trying to solve. Nationwide, they started their Lean journey in 2009. They've accredited their internal training system with the university's Lean competency system, and they've put 1,400 yellow belts through the programme, so members of staff of Nationwide, and 40 green belt people, who they call continuous improvement specialists. And there was a big recent mortgage review, wasn't there, forced by legislation, financial services. And they use Lean or CI principles and Six Sigma principles. You can see how they're nicking from all the different methodologies to actually review their mortgage process. And they said, you know, they really realised that with all the legislative changes that were being put in place, it was going to be a more painful, lengthy experience for customers. And they know if it's painful and lengthy, it's going to put customers off. My car insurance was out today, and I just couldn't bear the thought of just picking up a phone and going through all of my speeding incidents and car crashes. So I just kept it with the company because I just thought I can't be bothered. So this is really important for companies in terms of loyalty, that you make it so simple for customers to interact with your services. So they were worried, and they wanted to look at that end-to-end process and make sure it was as fit for purpose as possible to try and protect that customer journey. So they've done, I mean, because I love Lean, and I've just moved house, I was so keen to, you know, stay with Nationwide because I know what a good company they are. This is where it's usually some point where someone's had a terrible experience. But I've had a brilliant experience with Nationwide ever since I've been a customer. And I decided I would be prepared to pay a bit more for my mortgage product to stay with a company that I could trust. And as I went through the process, I could just tell, because I'm a Lean nerd, that it had been 100% analysed from the customer's perspective. They did things like when I arrived in my new house, I received a welcome box. It was so cute, with tea bags and cups and cleaning products. A little extra that just made me that little bit more loyal as a customer, and that made me, you know, keep to their brand really. Specialist team of people available for cases that are more complex. And the critical thing is that their applications offer was within 9 days. 9 days, that's really impressive in this product, in this market, because they recognise you feel so out of control when you're buying a house in so many different ways. If they make it easy and simple for you, it gives you such confidence, and it kind of makes you feel in control just because they're on top of everything. And these are the text messages I received. So, like a nerd, I'm saving them and going, oh, I can show this in a PowerPoint presentation one day. So, pleased to advise that your products have been reserved. We'll be in touch again shortly. So we've received your application. We'll let you know as your application progresses, when my valuation's booked. And critically, we've received a satisfactory validation report. As a customer, I'm getting these little texts and I'm feeling confident and I'm feeling informed and I'm feeling in control. Now, critically, what I'm not doing is ringing them up going, have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? The fact that they've designed their process to be that visible and that customer-centric saves them work. And John Seddon calls that work failure demand. It's the amount of work that organisations do because something's gone wrong somewhere or because the customer's desperate to find something out. So by leaning their process and totally gearing it to what customers actually need and want, it's saving them a huge amount of effort.